Well, that is a really cool intro. Let me just adjust my volume. I'm not used to doing this alone. Okay. So hopefully you guys can hear me. It's my first time doing this for this show, so this is not an official episode. By the way, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Hopefully you can. Okay. And so look, I just wanted to just jump right into it. So what is investigate everything? Really, it's a chance to just kind of investigate everything every single day throughout this entire, I don't even know if you could call it a pandemic anymore, but through this whole 4 years of hell, and good stuff too. Um, I'm sure you all have that feeling like you got so many things to investigate. Everyone's investigating, which I think is really cool. But you have so many things you want to look at, and you never get a chance to get to them all. I wanted to set up a platform where we can just start diving into some of those forgotten stories. So over the next few weeks, probably twice a week, maybe more, um, I'm going to break out all of my old threads and things that were looked into by myself and many other people that just kind of got forgotten. But if you're like me, you save everything. And tweet it. I use Twitter as a bookmark page, and I am sorry it's kind of late. I was having some technical difficulties, but anyway, so that's the whole point of it, is getting these things out, because the more and more we go on, the more and more we realize so many of these things are connected. Not everything's connected. Some things are by chance. Some things are bad opportunists. But by and large, a lot of things connect the dots. So a little bit about me. I joined the army when I was like 18. Funny story. I moved my basic training date up because I was too much of a wimp to break up with my girlfriend. So I just wanted to be able to blame the government. I took this language test, and that got me into language school in Monterey, and then into the intelligence community. Flash forward ahead 11 years. I spent time in two special forces units as a intelligence team sergeant, doing a lot of tactical analysis, doing some strategic stuff too when I wasn't with those units. When I got out, it was after 2003, and I ended up in DC working for a contracting firm named SAIC, where I was able to apply the skills I'd learned: tactical, strategic, and something I call stractical intelligence. And I started seeing at the different levels of intelligence how all of these things kind of work together, but at the same time, they're really disjointed and pretty messed up. But the skill sets are all the same. But I wanted to get out of DC, so I found a way to take my resume, which was pretty unique, especially during the war on terror, and apply it to the outside world. I found competitive intelligence, which is, it's kind of like legal industrial espionage. And that was it. I started getting hired by companies to look at their competitors legally, but a lot of people don't like it. And what I realized was that in the business world, intelligence is the same as in the government world. But then I started seeing like all of these things work together. I didn't really like it too much, so I ended up leaving the intelligence community as a contractor. Got into competitive intel, got out of that after several years, and formed my own company. And this is kind of funny. I formed a company that did counterintelligence. And actually, one of my jobs is I sat in a booth at a trade show, spotting the people that I used to work with, so I could say, those are the guys you got to watch out for. What are the techniques? It's just like what you see in the movies. Case officers recruiting assets. Assets are what most people call spies. A lot of people think of spies as like James Bond. That's actually not. A spy is a person you hire to get information for you. This could be a janitor who has access to a government building. It could be a parts distribution manager who has access to all the databases. It could be anyone. That's what a spy is. It's the case manager or the case officer who's the person that you see in the movies. That's the person that is working at the agency. So anyways, I got out of that, and I've just been doing my own consulting for probably 10 years now. It's how I met my wife. Along with the work I do, I picked up a lot of jobs doing close protection. That's how I met her. And that was it. So the perfect person to land in the pandemic with, an investigative journalist who has an insatiable curiosity and an amazing talent for translating what she sees into something that everyone can understand with so much empathy. And that's what we've been doing ever since. So what's the point of this? I want to share everything I know. I mean, everything I can, but everything I know how to do with you. And hopefully you'll share with me some of the things you know. There's a lot of people like me out there. Thank God they're on our side. But now's the chance, I think, as we see the old cabal kind of showing its cracks. I wouldn't say falling apart yet, but the upheavals of just this past week, last 2 weeks, now's the time to get in there and start ripping these things out, dragging them into the light, but doing it in a way where it's going to be consumable by the masses. It's going to be actionable by the legal entities that are fighting for us, people like Mike Davis and several others. And it's going to be predictive. The goal is to spot the pattern so you can see what's coming over the horizon. Intelligence, that's already happened. That's called history. It's not really intelligence. So the goal is to really, I see so much good stuff out there. I'm not perfect. I could definitely do more writing. I love the hunt. I hate the writing part, but ironic that I'm married to a lawyer, author. But the point is, when I see it, it's like merging the skill sets of journalists with the skill sets of tactical intelligence analysts, knowing what is actionable, knowing how to pursue the answers you're looking for, knowing that you need to form questions to direct your analysis to get to where you want to go. Otherwise, you'll go down a million rabbit holes, as you probably have discovered. So with that said, that's enough about that. The cases I want to look at are divided into categories. I try to find the categories that kind of show every single thing that's affecting us in a negative way. Global public health, military-industrial complex, corruption in our governments, corruption in our education system, foreign adversaries, global adversaries, Marxist propaganda and Marxist thinking, and crime in general, and especially white-collar crime. All these things either work together or they happen to be fellow travelers, unwitting fellow travelers. For instance, there was a lot of corruption during the War on Terror. Now, not everyone who was corrupt was part of the big corruption cabal. Some of them are logistics contractors. I saw a way to make a quick buck, doesn't excuse them. But you see, it's kind of like those big whales that all those little fish latch onto. That's what we're experiencing, and that's why it seems so all-encompassing. So those are the ones you pick off first, because those are the ones you can shake. Those are the ones that will reveal a lot. Anyways, it's getting too lofty. What I want to focus on tonight really quickly, and I want your thoughts on this, is, hey, aloha, Martin Lewis. Hawaii, I'd love to be there. Good evening or good afternoon. I'm not sure what time it is there. But I turned on, I keep CNN on. I toggle between CNN, MSNBC. I watch, I more listen to conservative media or the new alternative media, as they call it. But when I'm in a place that has a TV, I don't own a TV except in this particular house. This is our event space. We call this Liberty Place. I always keep the legacy media on. Why? Well, that's where you learn. That's where you learn the messaging. That's where you could figure out what the next move is going to be. You can also discover a lot. Like, this is a great time for intelligence. This is a great time to be an investigative journalist because the legacy media really shows their cards. All right, so tonight's topic, really quick. We're not going to dive in deep, but I will be back on tomorrow. And I might even do this night shift thing. It feels very comfortable. I did many, many years doing night shift or watch operations. So it's usually after 10 is when I really come alive. So I noticed when I went back upstairs, I did my earlier LFA show with JJ Carroll called Unrestricted Invasion. I went upstairs to take the dog for a walk and eat something. And I noticed it's Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris. And like there's $81 million that was donated to her. Suddenly these rappers and social media stars I've never heard of are endorsing her. Instantly, it's a package. Instantly, what do I think's going on? I still don't think Kamala's going to be the candidate. I don't. But if I take a step back and I look at how much money is being and publicity is being dumped into her, she's being propped up as a bargaining chip. So who's going to be in? I don't know. But to raise her up like this, I mean, she doesn't have a prayer. Well, I guess she does, but the entire tech stock market industry kind of dropped today or since last night's announcement. So why are they propping her up? Why is CNN acting all huggy feely, like they're almost giddy? But then again, MSNBC is less giddy. So what's going on? I think they're trying to raise her value or some sort of barter, some sort of trade with maybe the candidate they really want. Or who knows what. Doesn't matter. The way I'm looking at it is the first thing I do is I'm going to write down every single first endorser. I also turn on things like Snagit, TechSmith Snagit. So when I'm doing this research, I record my screen nonstop. Then I go through and I slice it down. So the first thing we want to do if we want to look at what's going on with this Kamala Harris thing, and yes, I am looking into the assassination attempt. I retooled my whole YouTube so you can see the folders I have, but it's broken down into investigations, corruption, all those same things I named. So I was laughing because like all the Jake Tappers and everything, suddenly they love Kamala Harris. And then what the media does is they do these things on the street where they get the random guy who's probably their key grip or like their cameraman. And they're like, oh, Black Americans, say they better pick Kamala or else. And some guy who's, looks more like a poetry teacher than a dude off the street, he's like, well, they better, And so, but the point is, for some reason, they're packaging her, they're trying to sell her for some reason, but then there's people that are not. And so what I noticed is ever since the debate, we've really seen a fracturing in the media. Like we used to think it was, well, we didn't think, but I would see one big blob. Well, all of a sudden when Joe Biden just really showed how far gone his brain is at the debate, you started seeing the teams really come out. What did we see? We saw like Joe Scarborough get censored on his Morning Joe show from MSNBC, where they weren't going to show his show last Monday because they were too worried that he'd be too fiery with his rhetoric. I'm not sure who they are. Then they put him back on. New York Times seems staunchly against Joe Biden, but they seem to be loving on Kamala Harris. The reason I say that is after the debate, New York Times quoted Joe Biden and put every what, grumble, groan that they could in the written newspaper. So why is that important? Well, that's important because then we start looking at who has the full page advertisements, especially in the Sunday edition, for instance, of the New York Times, or who has a longer than 30-second commercial on MSNBC, who has prominent real estate on the website for banner ads, that sort of thing. The goal is why we're following those things is I feel the media, the legacy media, is one of our adversaries because they're not really media anymore, are they? They're propagandists. They're messengers. But their messages are dangerous, and their messages are one of the main causes of divisiveness in this country. So I think it's important to expose the people taking money from like a special interest and not advertising that as paid content. and start preparing enough public information so people can grab that information, for free and use it for civil suits. And hopefully along the way, they'll, subscribe to my Substack or throw some donations or something like that. But the goal is just making a pool of evidence that's actionable, that's in the proper legal language eventually. And so it's just this pool of data, kind of like Judicial Watch. They do a great job. And so that's the goal. So what do we have? We got Kamala Harris. That's a big wide open one. We have the attempt on Donald Trump's life. In my opinion, definitely not a lone shooter, but it's just too insane. We have a lot of questions under that. We have the death of Bing Liu in 2020. I should probably call some of these up. The death of Bing Liu in 2020. That's I think one of the most important cases that needs to be solved during the entire pandemic. So who was Bing Liu? I'll call up my ex here because I did extensive stuff on it. This is a weird case because Bing Liu was working at the University of Pittsburgh's Medical Center, UPMC. And suddenly, it's like end of April 2020. I remember this vividly. And this, Chinese-born scientist was going to announce some big thing about the COVID virus. Okay, I think this is April 27th or something like that. And about 3 days later, he was dead, shot supposedly in his apartment by another guy named Hao Gu, Guo. And then Hao Gu turned the gun on himself, and he's dead. And so the interesting thing, what caught my eye about this story was Hao Gu was 12 years older than Bing Liu. Hao Gu was not even in the same industry. Hao Gu, the assassin or the murderer, he lived like 20, 30 minutes away. And he also was in charge of a Chinese cultural center, things that are known to be part of the United Front, which is kind of like the extension of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, that keeps an eye on dissidents or students in this country. And he worked over there. I looked at Bing Liu. Bing Liu's a data modeler. So I'm guessing he was probably going to reveal the true anatomy of COVID-19. I'm guessing to show as man-made, which we all know now, but keep in mind this April 2020. Sorry, I'm calling this up while we're talking. This was an unplanned, impromptu thing, but I just wanted to share. I do see Brandon Whitecard out there. So Brandon, if you're there, you want to hop on the screen with me, just shoot me a text. I'll send you a link. Brandon's a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure he knows all about this case too. So anyways, looking at this case, and a few things came forward. Let me pull this up really quickly on Twitter. Unfortunately, I don't have a slide ready, but then you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let me share this screen. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. Okay. So this is Bing Liu. So here is June 26, 2021. Let me go back to the original ones. So yeah, you guys are gonna love this. And by the way, feel free to run with all these leads I'm giving you. That is the point. I don't care about getting scooped. I'm not an investigative journalist. I am not trying to make a name for myself. I'm trying to share the tons of information I've collected along the way. So what I noticed right away was, all right, so I believe it was, let's get to the story here. Okay, so this is Bing Liu. Okay, Dr. Bing Liu, 37, a coronavirus researcher at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, was shot and killed in a suspected murder-suicide allegedly carried out by man. Okay, so this gets weird because when I started digging, what I noticed right away was something didn't work. I said, I'm still tracking the events around Bing Liu as well. Pittsburgh scientist from CAS announces they are close to a cure in April, then gets murdered by another member of Chinese Academy of Sciences, who then commits suicide in Pittsburgh. Police ruled it a love triangle, crime of passion. Now, so that's the whole story. This guy's going to announce something, he mysteriously dies, and that was the end of it. We're supposed to move on. Okay, so here, what was really, really interesting was the so they basically, wow, they put a community note on my tweet from 2020. They went back in time. Case closed. So I was amazed that the Pittsburgh police supposedly solved this case in record time. I mean record time. I'm saying they closed the case, not cleared the case. They closed the case. There's a difference. They closed it in record time, and of their entire history. A murder, suicide, love triangle, and within days, they're like, nothing to see here, just a lover's quarrel. Okay, so when you start digging in, when I look at cases, I'll look at, okay, first look at the victim, and then start going out from the victim. Everything, who, what, when, where, why, how, where did they live, check out their environment. And so what's really interesting here is, hopefully these things are still up. Okay. So he's murdered in April of 2020. Isn't it interesting that UPMC breaks ground on hospital in China, 4 more in the works? So UPMC, where Bing Liu worked, was in business with the Chinese Academy of Science and the Wanda Group, which is one of the biggest Chinese companies in the world, pouring money into Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh police make this case go away really quickly. Okay, really quickly. I will clean this up for you, I promise. I will also post, if you go to my Twitter and just, all you gotta do is type in, just like this up here, type in that in your X search, and all this stuff will come up. So they had all these job announcements at the same time, tons of business pouring in from China into Pittsburgh, especially UPMC where this guy worked. And then they just closed the case. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. They also opened up new airport lines, back and forth flights to China. Now here's the interesting thing about Pittsburgh. There was also a case that came out, I'm sure you guys remember, I believe it was Fauci's wife, who was doing these weird-ass experiments in UPMC as well. And Pittsburgh and Wuhan are sister cities. Now, isn't that special? Also, this I haven't looked into, I just want to point out that where President Trump was, the attempted assassination was just south of Pittsburgh, and guess where Joe Biden was at the same time? In Pittsburgh, at a casino, with 12 extra Pittsburgh-based Secret Service, while Trump got 3. That's beside the point. So the Bing Liu one is very interesting because there's some other things that I will put into a Substack. I wanted to share this with you tonight because I want people looking at this. There's another Bing Liu with the same social security number when I looked it up. And that Bing Liu works down at the Moffitt Cancer Research Center. That's interesting to me because COVID led to Operation Moonshot, which is a cancer cure using mRNA. But I believe it was Brandon that told me, or one of my friends, and I haven't looked it up. Operation Moonshot in Ukraine is actually for COVID. So again, doesn't mean anything, doesn't mean I'm drawing any conclusions. When you do a good investigation, the first thing you do is just collect. Just collect. Don't even try to analyze. And then you start, skimming, and then you start triaging. Then you start timelining, and then you start analyzing. Then the picture comes clear. So who did kill Bing Liu? That's one of the cases we're going to explore over the course of the next few months. Computation biologist. So this is so let me just read it to you so people who don't know who Bing Liu is have an idea. Bing Liu, a computational systems biologist at UPMC, who was studying the virus that causes COVID-19, was shot to death in his home May 2nd. He was 37 years old. Police insist Liu's death had nothing to do with his research on SARS-CoV-2. That's a really weird thing for the police to say. This is before anyone even started talking about it. And instead involved a personal matter. Another man, Hao Gu, I'm sorry I got his name wrong earlier, it's Gu. No, I think they got his name wrong. Was found dead in his car near Liu's home at an apparent suicide, according to news reports. The Computational and Systems Biology Department of Pitt, where Liu was an assistant professor, announced in a statement its mourning of Liu's death. Dr. Bing Liu was an outstanding member. Okay. So that goes on. Now, somewhere in here, I'm pretty sure I posted, I'm not going to try to look for it now, there was a local report that came out at the same time that showed, here we go. Sorry, I see I'll get to you in a second, not Laz. What a sexy voice. Well, that's nice. not Laz, someone else said that. But what it could have been this one here. In one of these local papers, several of the neighbors were interviewed, and they said they didn't hear any shots. And don't worry, I have all these articles archived. So they basically said they didn't hear any shots. So this guy shoots Bing Liu, goes out to his car on the street. I looked it up on Google Maps. It's all street parking. Shoots himself, and no one heard any shots. Seems kind of weird. First graphic, especially. Also, the cancer research crossover. Remember Bing Liu, researcher over at UPMC, who was supposedly murdered as part of a love triangle. He had a link to cancer. The link was actually, there was a shared social security number between him and someone else at the Cancer Research Center. So again, go to these, start reading them up. What I'd like to do with this is I'll introduce a case. You guys start digging. I will also dig. And because, again, this was in collection phase. And then I want to see what you guys come up with. We'll compare it with what I got, and then we'll try to put something together. The other thing here is how quickly you might notice as I'm going through this, how quickly everyone's on point. Newsweek, BBC, everyone, how quickly they're on point, all emphasizing that this had nothing to do with COVID. Okay. You could just see the long history of Wuhan and Pittsburgh. Okay. Just kind of flashing these through. And then I'm going to make this quick because I'm getting kind of tired and a little punchy. The case. Okay, so massive amounts of CCP money, Chinese Communist Party, and has poured into Pittsburgh and its UPMC from Chinese Academy of Sciences. And Pittsburgh is the sister city of Wuhan. Shocker. Okay, if you go to sister cities, pittsburgh.org here, you could see the sister cities program, unless they took that one down too, which is fine because I archived it. So this is interesting. So on this tweet here, see if I could blow that up. This is really weird. And keep in mind, back then, I maybe had 300, 400 followers. I wasn't really on Twitter that much until the pandemic hit. Someone contacted me on Facebook when I started posting this stuff. And they claimed that how Gu and Bing Lu were lovers and that I was being insensitive and I should look away. So, and I still have that as well. Um, Now, in hindsight, I see this and I see the reaction to this man's death. God rest his soul. And I think to myself, this is literally how the cabal or whoever's behind so many of the bad things. It's how they handle everything. Is this disruption? The police are on point in a lot of cases. Yeah, see, I think that's why you save things. That's why you download everything as a PDF. Okay, that's how Gu. That's the guy that killed him. Okay, and then it goes on and on. So I'll get these all together in a nice, neat package thread. But as you can see, if you go to just search like this here, you can see the top thing. That's all you got to do. Put that in your Twitter search and go to town. And let me know if you find anything, because we want to get into these. And I promise the show will have a lot more energy. I've done 2 shows tonight, but I did want to hop on this and, just say hello. We also talked on Frank Gaffney Securing America a couple times about this. So that's the How Gu piece and the Bing Lu piece. That's important because there's so much interaction with the Bidens and this administration, NIH, and Pittsburgh. So we'll put a pin in that for now, but there you have it. Some of the other cases we'll be looking at will be one is Afghanistan. Again, if you just type Afghanistan and search in my profile, you'll also find that there were some NGOs set up to get money for the innocent victims of the Russian bombing before the bombing ever started. There's also USAID documents, I'm sure a lot of you have, to show that it looks like Ukraine was working on a pipeline with the United States via USAID and Poland. And from the look of it, that pipeline may have been about to cut Russia out of the European market. Okay, you may recall Poland also was the first country to offer military aid to Ukraine. So just saying. And if you look at the bombing pattern in the first night of bombing, supposedly, I didn't see any bombing in the first night, but they said it happened. If you look where they hit and then you underlay that map of the pipeline that had been built so far, it was all the key junction points that the Russians hit. So there's some funny stuff going on over there. Also, Ukraine is in debt to China for a lot of money. They're part of the One Belt, One Road. I'll let you look that up. And then other cases before I fall asleep that I'm looking at on this is, so we got Afghanistan. We also have the Afghanistan thing's interesting because I go into the whole deep thing a couple times about in speeches I've given and podcasts I've given about the fact that ISIS-K didn't seem to be much of a thing until that year before suddenly ISIS-K swept through the country and defeated everyone. ISIS-K was the Khorasan group out of Syria, first reported on in 2014, and allegedly had like 40 to 60 Al-Qaeda veterans. According to Blinken's State Department, just about a year before this unprecedented sweep of an unknown group across, an entire country, the last thing Blinken had said was that ISIS-K, and it started as Khorasan group, then it became ISK, then it became ISIS-K. They were supposedly going to Northern Africa and were no longer a threat. That's what was reported at the State Department level. I'll call them all up. And that also in July, it was coming out of the Afghani Ministry of Foreign Affairs that they'd increased trade with China for semi-precious minerals, which are used to make semiconductors. Afghanistan has a huge amount of the semi-precious minerals you need to make those semiconductors. They'd reported a 56% increase of those exports of those semi-precious minerals in July of 2021, right before the fall of Kabul. I've also collected every single tweet from almost every single person in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before the fall of Kabul. Apparently, there was some major PR person or like manager of one of the major media outlets who was taken out right before Kabul fell. I want to point something else out too. You guys, obviously, we've gone over a lot of stuff about Afghanistan. I want to point something else out too. I primarily was in the war on terror when I was in the military and in the intelligence world. One thing that all these groups have, Taliban, whatever other extremist group is out there, or terrorist group, they all do the same thing. And I saw this in the Philippines when I was there. I saw this in a lot of the Near East, parts of Northern Africa, the southern part of the peninsula. They really like to parade the bodies around of people, other soldiers they defeat. You may recall that when, after 9/11, they were dragging contractors' bodies around. If you remember Somalia, same thing. Not one body was dragged around or put on display when this ISIS-K supposedly wiped out the entire Afghan National Defense Force. And just so people know, if you haven't looked into it, that's a pretty well-established military. So that's one I want to look into, because what I believe is, for whatever reason, we had to get out of Afghanistan, and then once we did that, we had to replace that ATM machine, and that's what I believe Ukraine is all about, among other things. I think we were pushed out of Afghanistan because China said so. And from my optics, it looks like whatever China wants, Joe Biden does, or the Biden administration. Because one thing that happened on August 15th, 2021 and beyond, despite all that scary ISIS-K stuff sweeping through the country, the Chinese embassy never closed their embassy. I find that odd. We've got a lot more stuff. If you look up Afghanistan on my Twitter, you will see what I mean. I'll let you read them. I'm not going to go through them all right now. I'll let you read that at your leisure. But I'll just give you an example. So you see the way, if you don't know how to do those Twitter searches, I'm just doing it for you. Okay, that's my co-host and I. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, go way down here. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is good. Yep, so there's the semi-precious minerals we were talking about, which I put on my Substack. Okay, yeah, some people always get on me about China. So it goes on and on, but yeah, here we go. Sorry, I had to crawl through that. Guitar Hero. Okay, looks like SR is a little probably tired, maybe even drinking something when I wrote this, so forgive the adolescent nature of it. Looks like you've done, I wrote this to Blinken, looks like you've done it. Unity, though with an enemy and an anarchistic state, Iran and Afghanistan, respectively. Shall we encourage China to attack Taiwan next while we're at it? Oh, wait, Joe did that several weeks ago. So if you read through these, and please, by all means, write them up in your Substacks, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of stuff in here, and I just don't want to see it go to waste. There's also, this is the other one. All of these, all this American equipment left behind seems like it fit perfectly on them. There's also several Kabul Times articles that I found that show the Afghan National Defense Force was begging us not to leave. There's your exports, 64% increase in exports to China, July 2021, and that's for precious and semi-precious minerals. And it goes on and on. So again, there's your search for that. Have at it. I mean, if you get something out of it, by all means, please mention me or give me a thanks or something like that. That's all I really need. I just want to make sure this gets out there and I can't write it all up. So there's that. And we'll go on. There's Afghanistan. There is Armit Fox LLP, which is one of the major profiteers of the Ukraine conflict. They blocked me immediately when I called them out on that. Of course, we'll get into Eco Health Alliance. Got a lot on that. I know like Huffman and these guys, so going to call them in for an interview. We could even get into Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS. There's a reason I know a lot about that, and on and on. But I think it's important that we don't let these cases die. I think we need to expose them all to the light in detail, and not in the way that you'd see normally in regular media. Regular media is meant to consume quickly, and that's good. That's fine. You got to get the information. These will come out in the form of a white paper type format. I want these to be usable by whatever Congress, whatever law firm wants to do civil suits or pursue some of these people criminally. I see on every level this country has been betrayed for profit, or worse, and we have it all. Between all of us, we have it all. That's what Investigate Everything is about, is getting and creating a library of all of these wrongdoings, all of these crimes, all of these betrayals of our country, and putting them in a format, a professional format that I and anyone who's ever worked for a law firm knows how to do, so that they don't go away, so that they don't get swept into the ash bin of history, if you will. There's a lot in here. There's a lot, not just from me, but from people I consider my friends, my wife as well, who she actually credits me with, convincing her about the threat of China a long time ago. And it's just, it's all out there. None of this stuff is a secret. As a lot of you know, we just have to get it organized and get it in a format where it can be that digital library, kind of like the Rogues Gallery. It'd be like the Rogues Library. And that way, anyone who's been wronged by a loved one dying to fentanyl or God knows what else, we can start getting the justice we need. And not only that, but showing there's consequences for this. People can't act with impunity, and at the level they've acted, in sync with each other. We have to win this election, or we're going to lose our country. So we push on this, and this also creates a nice distraction, because then these legal teams have to spend money on making these things go away, and that's what I try to do. I try to work as hard as I can to chip away at the return on investment, and the more of you I could get taking this little journey with me, the better we're going to do. And imagine what a nightmare that's going to be for the bad guys. So again, I'm going to close it down there because I am getting sleepy and I don't want to make a fool of myself if I haven't already. But again, just an intro as to what we'll be doing. It'll be a lot cleaner than this. This is just an impromptu. The camera's on. I thought I'd say it. I do have to say, I do have a sponsor who wanted me to mention them, and these are NativePath amino acids drinks. My wife brought this stuff home because they're an affiliate sponsor of hers as well. And I gotta say, and they hate when I say this, I like a good bourbon every now and then. Sometimes I have a couple too many. And this is not how they're marketing it, but they market it as support for hydration, recovery, muscle health. It's a great hangover cure too. This stuff's awesome, and I bought a crate of it as well. So that's the only one I'll advertise tonight. But that is NativePath, and all their stuff is really good. I actually started putting that stuff and then mixing in some of these collagen peptides. I don't know what half this stuff is. I go to Naomi Wolf's Rumble channel or her YouTube, and I watch it. It's my wife, and I watch it, and she always has a new remedy that she's looked up, and it turns out they're really good. Not only are they like traditional, but it's really annoying that a lot of them are actually reviewed and in NIH databases. Like, they know about these natural remedies, they just choose to bury them on their website. So yeah, my household, there's always something new. And it's, so far it's all really good. So that is NativePath, and really, really good stuff. I really like it a lot. And several others. So, throughout the show, I will put up those affiliate sponsors and their links simply because that's how I'm able to do this. And I can't do this full time, not yet. I do have clients that I take, so that's why I'm up so late all the time to get this stuff out. But yeah, so I hope you don't get annoyed, but there they are. That's NativePath. You go to getnativepath.com/DailyClout and promo code DailyClout. I'll let that roll for a second. 45% discount. I double checked on that because that seemed like a massive discount. That's 45%, and I think it's worth it. But again, that helps us continue along and do this. Because anyone that's worked in research, writing white papers, I mean, it's exhausting. It's a lot of research and a lot of writing. So there's that. And then, I will set up, I'm in the process of setting up a repository. I would like to get some of you on, some of you that I know and some that I'm going to meet, get you on, and we'll maybe do some panel discussions about once a month, and we'll talk about our various cases. But here's the last thought I'll leave you with. I'm begging people who are good researchers to not chase the shiny thing. Don't chase the shiny thing. Because just like a well-oiled machine or a good football team or a good military squad, we're only going to get anywhere if we're organized. And that's kind of why I want to interact with you guys. So if we've got a bunch of people working on, say, bird flu nonsense, then we should have a bunch of people working on monkeypox, even though it's way back then, because we can close that out. We can connect the dots that way. We should have so many people working on corruption in the Department of the Interior. We should have so many people working on trains. Okay, people with knowledge and then good researchers. So if we're going after all of these fronts simultaneously and then collaborating to see if there's any connections, we're going to get a lot further than being a research barbarian horde and just chasing things. And because that's important. And that's how the bad guys operate, because they inherited a system that's built that way. So that'll be it. I'm gonna let you go because I'm exhausted. I'll be on Monica Crowley tomorrow. She gave me a call, and we're gonna be talking about the assassination attempt. I'm probably leveraging my experience in private executive protection. It's all kind of the same thing. I mean, a lot of stuff you've heard already. A couple things that I'm not going to reveal, but that I noticed before and after that I found really odd and pretty telling. And you can go to my Rumble channel, and you can see, and DailyClout's Rumble channel as well. And you can see where Saturday, the first thing I did is I just turned on the live stream and started recording the screen so I didn't miss a thing and nothing goes away, because as you see, the story changes all the time. So, all right, well, before I totally destroy my future audience with my exhaustion, I just want to thank you for, I see a few people in there. It's good to see you all. But actually, before I go, let me answer some of these comments, because you guys took the time to be here, and I want to give you my time. Thank you for trusting me with your time. Martin Lewis says, aloha, greetings. Man, God, I wish you got to send me some spam, dude. And I got to get out there. Okay, good to see you, Martin Lewis. Okay, Nautical. It will be reported that Biden died. Yeah, hey, you know what? Let's talk about that maybe tomorrow. I said the same thing. I said, this is not good for Biden. Once he supposedly got COVID, I don't know if you guys recall when he's walking up to his flight, that looked like a guy who's walking up to his execution. Like he didn't want to get in that plane. It was like one of those movies where the mafia is forcing the guy into the car, and it kind of makes it last as long as he can before he actually goes in, because he knows he's not coming back. I don't know, man, but Nautical, I hear you, that because they just announced again today that there's a delay in him appearing. There's some other things too that I thought were weird, like the letter came out saying that he was not going to run again, but then his endorsement of Kamala Harris came out in a tweet. Again, I wonder if Joe Biden even knows that he is not running again. I mean, it's Joe Biden. He might not even know he's president, but you see what I mean? It's a little weird. Like something's off here. So good call on that one. Nautical. Publicist says, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, publicist. Lord. Here's a scoop. QAnon JFK Jr. was at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania. QAnon. You'll have to explain that one to me. Let me see. And yeah, sounds insane. Well, nothing sounds insane these days, but Google QAnon JFK Jr. read up on the guy and then watch the rally in Pennsylvania. Where you shot at. Look in the background. Send us some links, not those two. Send us some links, definitely. You can DM them. I'd like to look at what you got. Okay. All right, so we'll get back to that now. So I'm gonna skip over some of yours, but I'm gonna save them. Yeah, I want to see what you got. And then Jimmy Rizzo says, okay. So you say in this one-sided show. All right, so Jimmy Rizzo, I think he's talking to me, is saying, okay. So you say in this one-sided show, sad, bye, all one-sided voice. Oh, okay, Jimmy Rizzo, come back anytime and show us the other side. You're always welcome. The only side I'm on is going after the people that attacked me and went after my liberties and my country. So if you think we have it wrong, then by all means, bring your receipts. Non-hostile, no gotcha journalism here. Okay, Taliban has convened 60% of their poppy fields. See America's F, LOL, they care more about the... No, they don't care about the overconsumption of that. We'll explore that. I can't get into it now, but that goes... Yeah, that's just something there. Let me see. And then, oh, that's nice. And then LK Bulko says... Thank you for this, Brian. This is my first time watching. We'll definitely watch more. Love your wife. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, no, Naomi's great, and I do get a little jealous of all the podcasts because we used to just the two of us in like 2020 we'd just be banging this stuff out, and then she called out Joe Biden very publicly and ended up boom, phone's been ringing off the hook. But it's good because we kind of at nighttime now, one of our favorite things to do is watch air fryer cooking shows. That's a secret revealed. And then I like this guy or girl, not Lowe's. Shucks, I'm a philosopher naturally. I have a big purview. Cool. I got no links. Oh, there we go. Wow, I got no links. Super smart guy. I know picked it out. Then I Googled JFK Jr. and watched the video. I'm really. Do you mean RFK Jr. Not Lowe's? Because I'm not sure what you're saying. And then AA says, "Thanks for Naomi." It's funny. People when they'd meet me, sometimes they'd say, "Mr. Wolf," which I thought was really funny because all I could think of was the cleaner from was it that Quentin Tarantino movie. So, all right, guys, I've got to go to bed, but don't forget here. Let me don't forget to do the go and mine my my tweets and just use in the Twitter search bar. All you gotta do is just do, if you want to look at the Bing Liu thing, just put the subject and do it just like this. Put in the scrolling banner here. Okay, I'll just do it like that. So yeah, you're just going to want to pop that into your Twitter search bar, X search bar, so you know how to do it, or whatever other subject. You don't have to use a parentheses, but if you want it to come more verbatim, you have to. It's a Boolean operator. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. So there's that, and then that is about it for tonight. So I'll announce the schedule. We're going to do about 2 shows a week, probably Tuesday and maybe, I don't know, Tuesday, maybe Thursday, or maybe Monday and Thursday. And also check out Unrestricted Invasion. That's my show with JJ Carroll. He is at JJCarroll14, Carrell 14. He's working on a great documentary right now called What is Treason? And he's gone all around the country checking out all the really bad packed illegal immigration sites. I went out with him. I hosted him and Ryan Matta in New York, and then up to Boston. I showed them around some of those. It's really an amazing documentary. It's quite revealing, quite shocking, and you guys should check that out. And that's it. So make sure you also go to DailyClout. .io and check out the other shows that are on there. There's a ton of stuff on there. You can't go wrong. Ton of stuff, ton of great shows, and they cover everything. Full disclosure, it is my wife's website, but I'm pretty impressed with it. And there's one. So this is DailyClout, and so we have that was impromptu. We did on the porch where we just talked about the week. Drew Allen, he's our newest. He's awesome. I met him at CPAC. What a great guy. He wrote this great book called America's Last Stand. He's passionate. He's just awesome. Real family man, way out there in California. But he just recently joined the DailyClout team. Got Melissa Blazek. She's a former congresswoman from New Hampshire. We met her when they were protesting against the mandates, and they beat the New Hampshire government, and the New Hampshire government did not do the mandates at that particular time. That was really great. The Generation Rogue is Kate Hildreth. She's also the creative director for DailyClout. She does some amazing stuff. Not only with this, you get some really neat perspectives, but she also does one called Homestead Revival, which is really cool. Like, her and her husband bought this like Amish store, and they're like been renovating it, so they'll put out a video. And I've learned a lot, like how to patch a hole and everything. Liberty Lobbyist, that again is Melissa Blazek. She's great because she actually was a congresswoman, and so she really gives great advice about how to act appropriately to get results. So, for instance, she said, "Don't send an email, a million tweets. We don't care about those. But when 20 people show up at our office, then we pay attention." So Liberty Lobbyist, definitely check her out. All their Twitter profiles are on here. Sure, a lot of you know Shannon Joy. She's awesome. We don't agree on anything, but she's a good friend. Love her show. It's a great community show. And she usually comes on at about, I think, noon. Check out Shannon Joy's show. Sarah Westall recently joined the team over here, so she's streaming her content here. I've known Sarah since like 2014. She interviewed me about my time in the Intel community. She's a great interlocutor. Love being on her show, and it's nice to have her here. There is the Homestead Revival. It's just, honestly, it's like where I go to figure out how to do things now instead of Googling everything. My wife Naomi's also doing Outspoken, but she's also the Geneva Bible readings. Really interesting history, uncovering a lot of things. She's making as many enemies as friends with some of this, but she's digging in, reading and translating the Hebrew. Really, really cool stuff. And there's many others. So check out dailyclout.io, and then make sure you check out the other features there. Everything here except for communities is free, so you can sign up. And definitely, if you don't have a if you don't have a Rumble account, certainly get one. Most of the stuff that got censored off YouTube you will find on Rumble, but just like any platform, there's a lot of stuff on there that's garbage. A lot of good stuff, a lot of stuff. I just always say check your sources, no matter who is sharing it with you. So check it all out. I'm gonna call it a night because I'm rambling on, but yeah, it's good to see you all, and I will talk to you soon. Certainly reach out anytime. DM me on Twitter, or you can reach out to Brian at dailyclout.io. Just put hashtag in the subject line, investigate everything, or lead or something, so I know what it is, so I know it's not spam. And I look forward to hearing from you, and certainly share any cases, big cases like the Bing Lu things at that level that you think would be valuable to look into. And just caveat, I'm not going to investigate Bill Gates' ties to everything. That'll take me 3 lifetimes. That's been done to death. It's important, but I want to get on the stuff that people can take action with. We can uncover a lot about Bill Gates and people at that level, Klaus Schwab, but it's just so big. And like connecting someone to them in a nefarious way, that's important. I just don't want to go down the like dedicate like my life to showing how bad Bill Gates is. The guy's a big giant d-bag. We all know it. He's evil. Hopefully he'll face justice someday. But if you want to get at him, it's better to pick off the people underneath him, starting from the ground up. That's what I always say, figuratively. So there we are. So again, you send me anything you want, but like the stuff that's actionable, the stuff we could really dig into, is the most important stuff, I believe. So anyways, I'm fading. So good night. Thanks for joining me. More to follow. And remember, transparency, man, it is the best feeling in the world. So have a good night, sleep well, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.